Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of EnviroBoy Plays. We're gonna sit here. We're starting a new series. We're starting with Democracy 4 here. So here's the deal. I don't know about all the rest of y'all, but for me, when I sit and the music's done. Okay, well, fine. But oh, boom, triumphant music. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, the world's an insane place, and many days I'll sit there, check up on whatever the latest headlines are of the day, see what's going on in the world, and if you're anything like me, as soon as you read any headline, you are the perfect person for interpreting what is happening there, and you know exactly what to do to fix all the problems in the world. At least that's what it is for me every time I read a headline. I immediately know exactly what needs to be done to make the world a perfect place, and I am more than willing to sit there and spout off about it to anyone in the vicinity that is willing to listen to me, particularly if they are friends and family who will not be angry with me or in some way, shape, or form test me on these things. So, with that in mind, we're going to play Democracy 4 and we're going to create the perfect world. All right, let's do this. New game. Oh my gosh. So I did sit down and play just a little bit so I can get a sense for this game. I'm absolutely garbage at it. No idea what I'm doing. But I feel like that's the best way to go into it. And I've debated whether or not we're going to do any specific type of thing or if we're just going to try and see what we can do, to try and make the best world possible. And I think for the first run, I can see myself absolutely playing multiple governments within this game. But we're gonna start with just the USA here because that's what I'm familiar with. I'm gonna do that. We gotta name our parties. So our party name is going to be the Super Rad Awesome Party, and our opposition is going to be the Mega Lame Loser Party. And we could change on things like compulsory voting, 3 parties. We could mess with all these things. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I don't know enough about what these things will do to the game for it to matter at all. Oh, can we change the color? Oh, we could choose our color. Okay, we're gonna do more of a forest green. And then the baddies here are gonna be the same color to make it. No, I'm just kidding. We'll keep them red. Actually, just doing green and red makes perfect sense. I mean, we could go like the full Americana and do blue and red, but I feel like that's a little too predictable. So we're gonna go with the green and red. That's how we're gonna do this. And I'm ready to play. So, okay. So, just anyone who's not familiar with this game, because since I've already gone through the tutorials, or most of them anyway, we're just gonna go for it and we're gonna wing it. But to anyone who doesn't know this game, it's a government simulation game where you can impact policies and all that kind of stuff, and it will impact all of these things. And your goal is to just get reelected or maintain in power or keep your government alive. I have yet to play to endgame, so I don't know what an endgame for this looks like, but that's fine. We're gonna do this. We're gonna impact or choose our ministers here, so we can sort them by loyalty, by campaigning, by experience, and by suitability for the job. I'm gonna start with suitability, but we're 100% gonna find people who are a good mix of loyalty and campaigning sympathies, so that way they'll be the least annoyed with me. As we go through this, I'm surprised that it doesn't let you establish what your party's starting lines are. Maybe that's what those sliders are. Maybe those sliders are supposed to be your party starting as opposed to what the government, the existing government starting thing is. I think it'd be kind of interesting. I mean, it seems to expect me to be liberal and socialist, considering that brings us high campaigning sympathies, and then minorities and capitalist. are low. Same with minorities and liberal. Okay, so I guess it seems to assume that I'm very pro-white people, which is a bold claim there, but that's fine. So yeah, see, socialist doesn't really have much with the campaigning. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it's making things up. We're just gonna go with as green a bars as we can find here. I'm not gonna worry about experience because all of them have jack all for experience. Like, you got like one person that has experience, and that's not helpful to me. I do know you want to look at political capital, because the more political capital you can get per turn, the better. Like, the more you can get stuff done. But I don't know. Like, in my practice, I just kind of tried to have more than one. So we'll just do, I don't know. She seems great. She's got great campaigning sympathies, decent loyalty. I mean, the only other thing we can do is we can sort by loyalty and then kind of see these other things. But see, he's got great suitability for it, even though he has no, you know, this person's not very suitable, but like great matches. Like, I don't know how they determine these things. I don't know, whatever. Okay, fine, whatever. You get the job. Hire. Let's do it by loyalty. I want loyal people. Okay, like, we might be trying to build a democracy, but also I want people that are loyal to me. So they'll do what I tell them. If there's anything that is a democratic approach to things, you know, it's loyalty and okay, like, maybe that's not the most democratic thing, but it is the most American thing. Reward those who are loyal to you regardless of their suitability. Yeah, see, that seems to maximize our political capital here, so we'll just go with that, I guess. I mean, I mean, they all got the green background and everything. I don't know. This seems like it's a winning strategy here. I don't know what all y'all think, but yeah, there we go. Great. No concern for whether or not they're actually good at their jobs. But look at all that political capital we're getting. That's excellent. Great. So this is our current situation here. I don't think we can make any, like, there's a whole bunch of stats here. This is, if you're looking at this and feeling super overwhelmed, I am with you 100%. Even understanding a little bit of how this works, I am very overwhelmed by all of this. But it's okay. We'll just figure it out as we go. You know, we've got all the important things. We've got military tanks. We've got GDP. We got guy throwing up. All kinds of great things. We got a real, like, sickly guy here. But we're just gonna wing this and figure it out. Like, it's the interfaces, once you start to understand them, are really interesting. And that's cool. I know we can have, so we don't have a quarterly report yet because we haven't started, right? Like, we're at the very beginning of our presidency or whatever it is. So we do this, and this is our first turn, so we can click to return to government. So here's our situation. We have high crime, averaging GDP, health, education's on the decline, which ain't great. Poverty's low, which is nice. And unemployment is on the increase. And it shows that as a green, but I don't know that that's actually a good thing. And that's where a lot of just the generic, if it increases, it's green, if it decreases, it's red, gets confusing. Because are they trying to imply that, like, unemployment has improved, which means it would go down? Or, I don't know. Are we assuming that unemployment going down is a bad thing? I mean, maybe that just means that we've got robots enslaved to us that are doing all the work, so everyone should be unemployed. I don't know. We're just going to go ahead and solve policy things. Climate change protocol. The United Nations Climate Change Conference signed a new protocol to limit the emission of greenhouse gases in industrialized countries. Your country participated in the talks and drove a hard bargain in order not to put too much strain on the economy. Still, ratifying the protocol can be costly, limiting GDP growth and worker productivity. On the other hand, experts claim that this is the only way to save the environment. Do we ratify the protocol? So ratifying it, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, is a necessary step to make sure our children will be born on a habitable planet. A small hit to the economy is well worth this goal. Or do not ratify. With our economy at stake, we cannot ratify a proposal that prevents growth, productivity, and wealth. Other means of protecting the environment have to suffice for now. Boom! Ratification. Pro-environment. Take that, capitalists. Take that, CO2. Haha! Okay. I wasn't intending to be particularly extreme, but I'm not off to a good start with that. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we will have a potentially bad situation, drug addiction, on our hands if we do not act soon. So things I want to do by, like, the strength of what it's doing. So it's like armed forces currently are doing minimal to help that, is how I'm interpreting this. And the reason I'm explaining how I interpret things is because if anyone does know this game and thinks that I'm making stupid decisions, I want to at least make sure that it's understood that, like, I'm making decisions based on the information that I can determine here, even if they're not necessarily the best one. So, armed police. I'm assuming this means that we could increase our armed police to reduce crime, right? It's like, and so we've got this slider. We can go up. Right? So, like, I'm trying to, so this seems to imply that if we are reducing all of this stuff, like if we greatly reduce all of this, our armed forces, crime and violent crime will go down? Or is that saying that it will go up? Like, we want those things to be red. See, this is where I say it gets really confusing. This does seem to imply that reducing it will be more liberal, right? Because the red is like, so we've got like our liberal standpoint. Hold on, revert changes. So it's like liberal right here. Yeah, and see, and it doesn't like negative 15% liberal, right? So it's like reducing that will be improved liberal, right? Revert changes. What does it say? Crime as current is minus 8.49%. So I'm assuming that's good because crime is down. And so if we reduce, then maybe that means crime will be less down. So I think it would, if we want to improve the drug problem, we'd have to increase it and criminalize it. But that seems to make minimal differences, especially where we're at. If anything, I would actually say let's reduce our funding into this stuff. Because it seems to have, like, if we look at these things, like state employees kind of goes down, right? Because there'll be fewer. But it's like the cost for body cameras and stuff goes way down. And like our crime differences seem somewhat minimal. But we're going to revert changes and not worry about this. Let's go back. Let's find a different approach to this. Private healthcare. So private healthcare is negatively impacted by state healthcare services. So if we increase state healthcare, the private healthcare will go down, but it looks like a lot of the other things will go up. But it's hard to say whether or not this will. I'm assuming this would increase, or rather decrease, the drug problem, because it would be providing care for people. So we're going to revert, but let's go back. This is going to be fun. We're all going to sit here and learn a little bit about government, and also probably learn to respect how impossible it is to improve government and make life better. What about narcotics? What happens if we go directly in here? Should drugs such as cannabis and heroin be legalized? Reporters suggest that it is the crime associated with buying black market drugs that cause problems, and legalizing narcotics would reduce crime. Opponents point to the health risks and say it would be giving in to criminals. So if we legalize stuff, we can check and see what kind of impacts it'll have, right? Crime seems to go up if we do that, right? Like, current crime rate is at plus 43 and it'll go up to plus 7. But it seems to do that. Conservatives aren't going to be that happy about it. Drug Enforcement Agency is going to reduce. Seems to be pretty liberal. Parents aren't super into that. Liberalism goes up. Tourism goes up marginally. What is this? Okay. Tells me very little. Influenced by GDP. Yeah, so if we do that. We could do that. Like, basically, we'd have to go the opposite direction if we're going to do that. Mental health may play a role in it. Selective schooling, social care. See, social care, I'm wondering if that might do something. If we increase social care. It's more socialist, less capitalist. Unemployment will barely go down. It's hardly impacted. Healthcare demand will go down. Health and mental health will go up. Those aren't bad things. We could think about trying to do that. This is the interesting thing about this game, like, immediately, as I'm trying to sort of make sense of all this stuff, is it says, hey, we need to fix this, but it doesn't really tell you what the policy would be that would magically fix it. And I actually think that's really interesting, because you do have to actually think about, okay, what would the impacts of all of this be? So we are on we are on the verge of a health or of a drug crisis. My inclination is to think maybe the most appropriate way to do this is to increase public health care a little bit. not going to be that popular with voters. But I feel like I see more benefits than hindrances. Most importantly, something that I think is valuable here is we can see the benefits to the poor. I'm assuming this means like, will this help the poor? Or will this hurt them? You know, like this will hurt the wealthy, probably because it would like cost them more, right? But the poor, it'll be good for them. But I think that makes sense considering that the poor will be like, they'll be sort of uniquely damaged by the, not uniquely, but more disproportionately damaged by a drug crisis. So I'm going to apply the changes there. We're going to go with that. The other thing, that was that one we just did. The other thing that I'm curious about, I'm curious if increasing the police force would be good. But the thing that, like, for me is kind of a concern about that is, like, I think it would be great. See, I just don't see a whole lot of benefits from this, to be perfectly honest. I mean, like, the conservatives like it. Crime goes down and violent crime goes down. But, like, a drug crisis isn't that people are, like, in jail for drugs. It's that people are using it. Whether it's a crime or not is kind of irrelevant. And that's why, for me, the healthcare is the better approach to it. At least logically, that's what it seems to be. Private health. We could also think about doing health tax credits here. Middle earnings, high earnings. Like, if we did that, and that would cost a fair chunk of change, but people would like that. Would increase private health care. Kind of goes against the social health care. But there are a lot of benefits. Cancel. Approve. Not the worst idea to go about that. But I'd actually like to look again just to make sure. Community policing, working with the community rather than attempting to control it. Community policing. See, this one's an interesting one for me. Encourages the police to better understand the needs of the local community, especially in areas with ethnic minorities. Critics see it as an expensive waste of money, which could be spent on more direct methods to cut crime. But I actually think that this is an interesting thing because, in theory, if we're going to increase these types of things, right, it would help with the drug problem, because if there's a unique drug issue in an area, you know, then we've got more to do. So now what's interesting about this, like, it will greatly increase the cost, and we want to be observant about that because we don't want to put ourselves in too much of a debt crisis here. But for a lot of increase and not requiring a whole lot of political capital just because of how popular it is, we can really increase this thing, which will reduce, I mean, it'll reduce antisocial behavior. It seems to reduce alcohol abuse, which is directly like that whole issue we're trying to do. Racial tension seems to be decreased. Violent crime decreases. Crime decreases. The only kind of negative is the cost increase by looks of this. That, and it's going to be more liberal if we want to do that. I'm not going to get too crazy with it, but I am going to, I mean, $3 billion from a nationwide budgetary standpoint isn't too insane, but let's just go ahead. I mean, really, the increase, we're at like almost $2 billion right now, so if we only just raise it to $500 million up to there, let's do that. Let's make a small change and let's see what that does. So let's apply the changes there. So yeah, let's do that. So let's do those two things and see what those do. We can look at our budgetary report here, right? So we can see the global economy is kind of on the up and up. Debt is increasing. What else is new? Relative GDP is going down just a bit, but that's not too harmful. Interest rate is about even. Expenditure went up. Income went down just a little bit, but that's not too dramatic. We can help that in some other ways. So for now, see, now we can look at, actually from here, we can go to our income. I mean, most of it's coming from income tax. We could gain some political clout by reducing that, maybe like increasing payroll tax or something like that. We can look into some of these other smaller ways. This one might also help with the drug problem. If we increase our alcohol tax, that's going to be super unpopular, but it will reduce the drug issue. It'll bring in more money. The problem is it'll disproportionately impact the poor, but honestly, if we're also trying to reduce drug use, this might not be the worst move. If we just do a little bit, and that'll help us gain some of the funding back that we've been, some of the, it'll help us raise some money, have some government income versus expenditures. So I'm thinking I'm going to do this. I'm going to apply those changes. That's not going to be super popular, but that's okay. So we'll see what those things do for us for the budget report. We can look at the election report. Super rad, awesome party. When we're looking at these things, active boost to voter turnout is great. We're getting a boost. The mega lame loser party is not getting a huge boost. The manifesto, we don't have any manifesto stuff here. Speeches, we can do speeches, but they're not available yet. Fundraising, we're getting pretty good fundraising going on here. Great. Perceptions, we're seen as trustworthy, strong leaders, but we're not seen as very compassionate. And we could do media stunts, but I don't know that I actually want to be doing tons of media stunts, at least not at this stage. So I think we're going to leave that for the time being. Like, it's still pretty early. Economic forecast. So again, that's just that same thing. Cabinet report, they all seem pretty good. Our experience is going up. Everyone seems pretty happy with their roles. So that's cool. And then the last one, our polls report. Voting intentions. I mean, we just finished. So our approval is... Oh, what's the approval distribution? Okay. Voting intentions is kind of irrelevant right now because we just finished the election, presumably. Disposable income. It shows where every voter lies on a spectrum of disposable income, both before the effects of government policy and afterwards. Taxes decrease, move voters' disposable income, but usually in return they get better access to public services. Hover over or click a dot for details. Right, so it's like we can see all these things. Right, very specifics. Oh, I see. This is just the number of data points that we have. We can just look at all this type of stuff. Frankly, that's a level of detail that means absolutely nothing to me. Voter types, we can kind of see who are polling well against versus who are not. I would assume that's what this means. But we haven't done a whole lot actually to really accomplish a lot. Approval at 43%, which for American government that's just fine. Gonna be perfectly honest here. Middle income likes us. Conservatives not super big fans of us. The youth seem to like us. Ethnic minorities seem pretty okay with us. Oh wait, no, I see. That's different. Okay, middle income. Oh yeah, they don't like us very much. Patriots like us. That's weird. Probably because of the rules for like drug control and stuff. Traffic congestion. See, here's a bunch of interesting things. And then our political compass. We are currently capitalist and leaning conservative, but we haven't really done anything, so that might just be sort of working on national averages here. But at any rate, let's go ahead and now, since we made some changes that we wanted to make, let's see what kind of policies we can work on implementing here. I like to sort them by how popular they'll be. So I avoid things that are not popular. So it's like all the not popular ones are going to be up here. See, no one wants us to do International Fusion Research Project. They're going to be really upset about that. So even though that actually sounds interesting to me, they're going to hate that. Whereas this one, they're going to love import tariffs. But I'm not super interested in doing a whole lot for tariffs at the moment. So we're going to not do that. These are ones that we can't do right now because I don't have the political clout to do it. We can go to welfare. We can do the fraud. Conservatives would like that. I don't really want to increase that. Disproportionately impacting the poor. Again, that's not what I want to do. Then we can do alcohol awareness, tobacco awareness. Those would help with the drug reduction things, but I don't think people are super into that. So we're not going to worry about that. Synthetic meat research. Personally, really interested in that. People don't seem interested, so we're just going to give it some time. The economy. People always like the economy. We can do technology grants, help our GDP. That's always a good one. During my practice playthroughs of this game, it was impossible for me to get good GDP improvement. So anything that improves the GDP is good. Like, I was struggling with that, and it might just be because of my stances that I was taking. I don't know. I don't know enough about it yet to know, like, A, how accurate to real life it's going to be, and B, regardless, what is going to be the best approach to fixing that. But I do like this one. Very capitalist approach to things, but I'm not inherently against capitalism. We could do smart meter, and this is really good environmentalist stuff. The energy industry won't be super happy about that, but that's okay. The National Business Council, that'd be good for the GDP, good for capitalists, bad for socialism. I don't know if I want to do this. Strong voice to business interests and ensures that the needs of businesses, both big and small, are taken into account. I don't know that I want to do that because I feel like that's the type of thing that realistically will really mostly just help the big businesses. Helicopter money just seems dumb to me. Everyone would like it, but it's just printing free money for everyone. I'm not super into that. Business startup. I like the idea of business startup, but it seems like the type of thing that could be easily taken advantage of. City farms and rural development grants. These ones I'm super into. I like these ideas. And relatively, like this one could be really expensive, but the city farms, relatively cheap there. So I'm going to go ahead and implement this one. Very popular. I think that'll make some good changes for us. And look, we still got plenty of political clout to do some stuff. I actually don't hate this one either. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Bit more expensive, but I'm going to have us implement that. And we can manage budget as needed. Those are some good economy things. We've done a couple good things with the economy. Let's look at taxes. Could do a plastics tax. See, that'll hurt the GDP. Hurt income overall, but it's good for the environment. I'm not super opposed to that one. And a lot of good income from that one. Plus, it would be popular. So I'm actually not opposed to doing this one. School tax credits will hurt the poor, which I'm really not into, especially when we're talking about, education. Microgeneration grants, good for the environment, lower CO2 emissions. It's good, bad for the energy industry. Costs a fair bit of money. Married tax allowance. Conservatives will like that one. I'm not sure I'm super into it, though. Tax break for married couples given as an encouragement for people to marry and also stick together. I actually don't like that. That seems like a really good way to just like socially cause a lot of people to stay in bad marriages. Enterprise investment scheme, good for GDP, bad for socialism. Packaging tax, bad for the GDP, low income, good for the environment. Hybrid cars initiative, bad for oil demand, good for like literally everything else, and it's pretty popular. Not super expensive either. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that one. That seems like it would be a pretty cool thing that a lot of people would be a big fan of. And I don't really actually see a problem with lowering oil demand. So we're going to do that one. And now we're starting to run out of political clout here. That was tax. Public services is always a good place to do some stuff. Compulsory water meters might be pretty good. Reforestation would be really good. Reducing respiratory disease. Presumably reducing unemployment is what that means, which I like. Reducing CO2. Kind of costly, but I think this could be really good. So I'm going to implement that. We're spending a lot of money, so I'm going to have to probably find some ways to increase our income at some point. But we're going to play all this stuff out for a round or two and see how it all goes. Law and order, right to privacy. Capitalism doesn't like it. Liberalism does like it. Very inexpensive. As more of our lives are led online and tracking everyone's actions, movements becomes easier. Some people argue that the right to privacy, both from government and from corporations, is essential, despite this impact this could have on corporate profits or law enforcement. Frankly, I'm into this. And it says popularity with voters. I think the reason that it's not very popular with voters is because I'm currently, like, the game is currently marking me as being more conservative. But I'm gonna do this. We're gonna go with that one. I think that would be a really good one. I want to apply those changes. We're gonna get that going. Public services, we've already done a fair amount with that. Telecommuting initiative. People would probably like this. The commuter would like that. Membership will go down. Car usage will go down. Parents like it. Productivity is good. Trade unionist and telecoms industry will like it. Somewhat expensive. Cycling campaign. You see, these are going to be even less popular. I'm willing to do this one. I think this will be kind of popular overall. Like, it will be popular, but I think this is a good one to do. So I'm going to implement that by those changes. Can we do a whole lot else? We can't. We've pretty much used up our... Oh, yeah, we have used up our political clout. So let's see how much I've destroyed our government here in one turn. Click to return to the government. So yeah, so GDP's down, as always. What are we at time-wise? How are we already at a half hour? Oh my god, I kind of love this game. We're 100% going to keep doing this. We'll go through one, like, presidency election cycle on stream. We'll see how it goes. And we'll hopefully require less, like, going slow and explaining things now that we're kind of seeing what I'm doing. But I'm, like, super into this. But I'm going to call it an episode there, just because we're exactly at a half hour, and we're going to keep going, and I'm going to record some more episodes. So, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate and love you guys. Forcefully lead your people into a better tomorrow, whether they like it or not. I don't know. Don't actually do that. That's depending on how you go about it. That's like terrorism and like running a coup, and that's like, I mean, in extreme situations we can argue the necessity of it, but as a general rule of thumb, that's just a violent thing, and people might not be super into it, and you might find yourself in some trouble doing that. So like, maybe a good thing is just to like go and I don't know, read up on some of the political parties around you, and be more aware of what the different political groups are doing, so that way you can make better informed voting decisions and stuff like that. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a really good thing. Let's do that. Go forth and be productive citizens, I guess. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Bye.